Hi, this is Natasha Lara Lewis with Esther's Place, and today I'll be showing you how to create the February Critter of the Month kit, which is this adorable fox, and it has a little wood base. So we're going to walk you through all of the different things that come in your kit and how to make it. So go ahead and join me. Now, in taking it out of your kit, you're going to find all these fibers. Let me walk you through what each one is. So we have this big piece of white. This is our core for the body. We have a smaller piece of white. This is going to be for like the muzzle, the nose. We have this little guy which is rolled up. So this one, when you undo it, is going to be the tail. It has a little bit of white and the orange. We have this little bundle which is folded up. This one has the ears. This is the color for the ears, all the different things you need for the ears. We have a tiny piece of black for eyes and a nose. You can see it's got just two simple little eyes and a nose. And then we've got our last piece of orange, which is the big piece that goes ahead and wraps around everything. So go ahead, and you'll need also your block, your foam block, and a couple of needles. Sometimes having a felting tool is a little bit helpful. It makes things go faster. And oh, I almost forgot all the fun doodads. We have a little piece of wood, some fun embellishments. Your kits are all going to be a little bit different, and then some curlies which look like moss. So we'll show you how that works at the end. You might want to get a glue gun warming up, or some craft glue as well will work. So we're going to go ahead and start on that body. So take your big piece of white, and we're going to wrap this into a nice tight core. You want to wrap it smooth and flat and tight around your finger. And as you wrap that up, give it a crank at the very end, which will tighten it even more, and then just very carefully pull your finger out so you don't pull the guts out. Then we're going to take and mush this stuff in at either side. And all in all, when it's done, it should be about the size of your finger. All right, we're going to start poking that. Put it down on your foam block. One needle in there to hold it, and if you take a look here, you can still see the needle, but this is our helper needle. It helps it to hold so that we don't have to hold it with our fingers. And we're going to take our other needle, and we're going to come in the sides here. You can tilt your foam to get to each side. Keep your other hand off to the side, away from where you're poking with those helper needles. It really is nice because we don't have to actually hold things with our fingers. So we're going to go ahead and start all over the bottom, and then go to the other side for the top. And this will help it to not get too long. A lot of times a core will kind of grow in length, so by poking the ends first, we're going to help it to stay that height. We don't get it too tall. Okay, and then we'll go around the whole middle here as well. So we're just going to go with little pokes all over. Keep your fingers out of the way. And our goal is to get this nice and solid. Like, it should take about 10 or 15 minutes worth of poking. So go ahead, take your time. You can rotate this every once in a while. Take that needle out. Give it a little turn so you can get the new side of it. And just keep poking till it's nice and solid. It's important to get it nice and solid before we move on to the next stage. So go ahead and you can pause the video. Spend a couple of minutes getting this nice and solid. Okay, so we've rotated this a few times and turned it and poked it, and eventually what you want to end up with is something that is flat on the bottom and it will stand on the table. If it's not, then you can go ahead and feel the bottom. There might be a little lump or something. Poke that down a little bit more. Now we're going to add the muzzle. So that's the piece of white that's about the size of your hand. You're going to split it down the middle into two pieces. One, you're going to roll into a tight ball, roll, and tuck the sides in, roll, and tuck the sides in, roll and tuck, roll and tuck, roll and tuck. When you've got that nice and tight, hold on to it, and we're going to poke this in up at the top of the face here, like on the first top half of your piece. Poke it in with one needle to hold it. And I've got that needle actually going all the way through down to the foam. It's anchored into the foam. And then I'm going to go around the edges of the shape that I'm adding. And I'm just kind of poking around the edge to help anchor that in there. This is going to help to add the little like bump here for the nose. So go ahead and give that a few pokes all the way around the edge. And then we're going to take the other half here and we're going to just put it right over that needle. And this is what helps to blend it into the face so that it doesn't look like you just slapped something on there. We're going to look like we blended this in carefully to the face. So now as you continue poking this in, you want to use short little pokes. And that means holding your needle here where you get a little bit of an indentation in the needle, and it's going to leave you with a smoother surface using those shorter pokes. So we just want to do little pokes all over till it becomes nicely blended in there, and you can even go on top of that little piece that you added. After a few minutes worth of poking, you're going to start to see it emerge. Okay, and now we've got a little bit of shaping on here. Okay, so let's pick that up. You can see how we've got a little bump on there, and you can poke all around to get the extra fibers in. And again, we want this to be nice and solid before moving on to the next stage. So just pause the video, give it a few more minutes worth of poking, and then we'll pick up and adding our other colors. Okay, so now we're going to take that big piece of orange and we're going to be starting at the bottom, and you can pin this in with one needle at the bottom here. Actually, you know what, let's do it this way. We're going to pin it into the bottom with one needle and just poke it a little bit. So we're poking it in to anchor, and after a few seconds of poking, if you give it a tug, it should feel stuck. Now we're going to be wrapping this around, and we're going halfway down our nose. So halfway down the nose, we're going to wrap the orange. So go ahead and go right up the sides and then to that point, and we're going to poke these edges in here. Now we've lost it. Okay, we're poking the edges only right now. Okay, and pull it nice and tight down this way. And continue wrapping till you use this whole piece up. So for now, we're just focusing on these edges around the front. And then we'll get to the back. We want to just anchor everything in, and then we'll go to town poking it some more. Okay. So again, those short pokes are going to be much better on here. So just use short little pokes. Now the back looks kind of like a hospital gown. So we're going to just carefully kind of bring those fibers in. We don't want any hard lines or ridges, so just kind of smooth this out so it will join, and you can overlap, kind of wrapping a present. And our goal is just not to get a thin spot or a white spot, but to just cover that. And as long as the fibers are kind of fluffy, you're not going to see them. It's just going to all poke in there. Okay. So now you're just going to continue poking this whole thing till it gets nice and smooth. It's going to take a couple minutes, so spend some time, put a pause on here, poke that till everything is nice and smooth in there. And you can use a tool for this. You can also take two of your needles and just tap them on the table, and that way they're the same length, and you can use them holding them together, and that just goes a little bit faster too. You can do that as well. Just watch your fingers there. Now what's happening is as you're poking, these needles have special little notches that tangle the fibers together. Let's see if this will focus here. You can see those little notches on the needle, and that's what's catching the fibers together and turning into felt. Okay, so as you continue poking, this should be nice and smooth too. the whole thing here, and we'll be ready to start adding a few details. So we're gonna go ahead, let's do those ears. So set your body aside. We have that bundle that's got the black and the white and the rest. We're gonna take and peel these colors apart. Make sure you keep them nice and separate. And we're gonna split this in half lengthwise. Now I'm gonna demonstrate one ear. Every fiber will be split in half. Okay, so as we take and prepare this, we're going to be folding into a triangle, not rolling, folding. So wad it up just a little bit so we have like a little ball of something to start with. Now we're going to take that, smooth out your fibers here, and we're going to fold it over. And then you're going to take and fold that over. It's kind of like folding a flag if you've ever seen that. Fold it, and fold it, and fold it, and fold it, until you've got a nice little triangle. We're going to take that triangle, put it down on your foam block here, and we're going to start poking. We're going to poke around those edges first, and then all over till it gets nice and flat using short little pokes. Leave one edge fluffy though for attaching. It's always easier to attach something if it's a little bit fluffy. So leave that one edge fluffy, poke it till it gets nice and solid, and then turn it over. Now you do want to make sure you turn this often, that it doesn't end up sticking into the foam, because you'll destroy your foam block that way if you start pulling up little bits of foam with your ear. That wouldn't be good. So we're going to make sure this is nice and solid before we add any more color to it. Alright, so now that I poked it maybe 3 or 4 times on each side, go back and forth, we have a nice solid piece, and we can introduce some of the other colors to it. We're going to add a core of white to the inside here, a little bit of white on the inside, and then a little bit of black on the outside. So again, split each one of these pieces. We're going to make a little tiny ball, little tiny, and then that's going to go inside the ear. And as you do this, you go around the edges first. Use short little pokes. You can even hold the top of your needle here just to be careful. Short pokes, because as you poke this, you're actually going to be pushing the white through to the other side of the orange. And you don't want to end up with a lot of fiber on the other side. So just short pokes will be better. And that's why we add it at this point. If we were to add this color early in the beginning, then the colors would like blend together and you would get a light orange middle instead of a nice white distinctive middle. So that's why we do it this way. Okay. There we go. So now we've got a little bit of the white, and if you turn it over, it's not too bad. You can see that there's not a lot of the white showing, so that's good. Okay, now we're going to add a little bit of black to the ear. And the black, again, we split that as well, like that. And we're going to fold this up just like we did the other one. And the black goes around the back of the ear and a little bit on the front of the ear. So we fold this up nice and tight, and we're going to just set it here behind the ear a little bit and turn it over and just do short little pokes here. Okay, and then turning it over to the other side, you're just going to tuck some of these stray fibers in and around the ear. And you can use the needle to kind of tuck the sides here onto the ear. So I'm coming sideways into it to add the black around the edges and just working very carefully, little pokes, and now I've got my color on there. You can put it in your hand and you can kind of rub it and breathe on it, and that helps it to not be quite so fuzzy. So once you've made 2 ears, we're going to attach. You want to take and pin them in with one needle, And then we're going to poke them with the other one. So go ahead and just kind of anchor them where you want them to be. There we go. And we're going to poke on either side here, just the whole way around to make sure that we're anchored really nicely. Okay. Whoa! He just does not want to stay with me. Okay. There we go. And even once you've got this in, you can work on shaping those ears more once they're poked into the head. Sometimes it's easier once you don't have to hold on to those tiny ears to shape it. Give it a little tug, make sure it's stuck on there, and then attach the other ear. Let's move on to the eyes and the nose. We're going to take and poke in 2 eye sockets. They're in the orange, and you're going to take and poke, 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 poke. A little, kind of like a little ball shape for one eye. And poke, 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 poke for the other eye. Now the reason we do this is it makes the eye sit in there really nicely. And it just gives us better shaping ability. Now we're going to take our fiber here, we're going to split it in half. This was the lone piece of black. It was just black. Split it in half, we're going to use that one for the nose later. This one we're going to split again into eyes. Roll it up in your fingers, you can breathe on it. Breathing helps introduce some moisture to the process. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to pin it in with one needle and poke with the other one. So as you're doing this, the fibers are getting tangled in there. We don't sew or glue. It's really quite amazing. The more that you poke this, the tighter it's going to get and the smaller it's going to get. So the smaller you want that eye, just continue poking it and it'll sink in there really well. So there's one eye and you can complete the other one. For the nose, we're going to take that bigger piece that we saved and we're going to do the same thing. It's just a bigger version of the eye, really. Breathe on it. Okay. Now the nose goes right at the edge of the orange into the white. So we want it to go right at the edge here. And we're going to go around the perimeter of it to get the shape. It's kind of like a little bit of a triangle shape maybe, or kind of whatever it wants to be. Sometimes you just let it kind of do its thing. There we go. And I just go around the edge a bunch. And maybe a little bit in the middle. There we go. How cute is that? Okay. The last thing we need to do is the tail, and then we'll be ready to glue. So we're going to take that tail piece. This was the one that has the white. Take the white off. We'll get to that in a minute. And we're going to fold this lengthwise like a hot dog so it's skinnier. We're then going to take and roll this nice and tight. And every once in a while, fold in this one side. That's the broader side. That's where the fold was. And that's going to give us a nice little taper to the shape of our tail. So it's bigger at this end and narrower at this end. Then we're going to take that and we're going to put one needle through the broader end. So just stick that needle in. There we go. So it's like a tail on a stick. Okay, make sure it's kind of in there evenly. And then we're going to poke it. And we're going to poke and we're going to turn and we're going to poke and turn and poke and turn and poke and turn. Because what's happening is it's like a rotisserie. You have to poke it and turn it often so that you end up getting even, consistent results as you're working. All right, so keep on poking, keep it a little fluffy here where we're going to attach, of course. And now we're going to add some white once we've got a little bit of a solid core going. So you're going to take that bit of white here. Watch your fingers, it's going to go right on top of here. like that. And we're gonna felt it in. So you kind of use your needle coming from here and just kind of tuck it around, and it's gonna form the tip of the tail, and just little points, little pokes. Looks like a little snow cap. All right. So as we continue to poke, it's going to just fuse it in more, and you keep on poking, very light pokes. I'm barely even touching the foam. Very light pokes on the tail here at the end, and it's forming a nice point. It's also mixing the colors just a little bit, and there we have it. We have a very nice tail, and we're going to attach that tail. You can pull it off, roll it in your hands, which makes it just a little bit skinnier and smoother. And then decide where you want the tail to go. You can have the tail go out. You can have the tail go on either side here. And we'll then, once you've got it in position, pin it in with one needle and poke it in with the other needle. All right. Make sure that you've got it nicely attached. By that I mean give it a little tug. All right, so that tail's attached. I can see it peeking out from the side there. All right, of course you'll have your other eye and your other ear done. So let's go to the glue gun. We're gonna glue this little base together. So we've got our bag of doodads, and we've got a little wood base. We've got some fun embellishment stuff. So we're gonna take that little base here, and we're gonna put a bit of glue on the side and on the top, and this is gonna be for the curls. So the curls are from a naturally curly sheep, a Wensleydale sheep, and they're awfully cute. And they look a little bit like moss. You could always use like real moss. So when you put them in, just don't try to touch them too much when the glue's on there, because it's a little bit wild and it'll end up getting stuck to you. So you can tame that as much as you'd like, and it just looks like a little bit of wild moss hanging off of your birch. Then we're going to put a little bit more glue, and as you add the glue, let it just drip on. Don't try to touch the glue gun to the surface, because it'll get stuck to all the fiber. Then we're going to take some of these guys, and we're just going to have them kind of fall off the edge a little bit. And then I take a little bit more of the curlies, and I'm just going to tuck them in a little to help hide some of that glue, hold things in. It just looks nice and cute. And you can rearrange, you can add some of your own things, little tiny acorns or miniature pine cones, things like that. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so there's our embellishments. And then we're going to take a little bit of the glue. Let's glue this guy down. He needs some finishing. Okay, we're going to put some glue on the bottom here. And find your position. Let's see. I'm going to go like that. And then glue it in. Hold it down for a second till everything is settled. And there we are. And you can sign and date the bottom here. You can use it as an ornament and hang it, or it'll sit nicely on the table now with that base. So there you go. That is our February kit of the month. It's lots of fun. I hope you've enjoyed making it with me. Thanks again for joining me. It's Natasha Lara Lewis with Esther's Place, and happy felting!